one. All right. I got my lights. I got the lights. I got the mic. Is there any background noise? You can't tell. You can't tell, but I'm not wearing any pants. All right, let me think. Welcome back to the Cine-Ops podcast. Welcome back to the Cine-Ops podcast. And we're doing videos now. We're doing the audio podcast. We're doing the YouTube podcast. So you can see me on the social media. But for the most part, we're doing the same thing. We're hanging out, talking about movies, narrating movies. Is that fun? Is it fun for you guys? Are you having fun? Do you enjoy listening? Do you enjoy my take on the movie? Do I get a lot of things wrong? I'm sure I do. How are you guys? I don't know if I mentioned in the last episode, but we have video and we have merch. The merch store is live. It's a link in the bio or the description. It's the Fourth Wall website. They're doing the merch for us. So you want to go and help out the podcast. If you love me a little, you love me a lot. You want to support the pod a little? There's some merch. I did my part. You guys do yours, all right? Do your part. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, if you guys want to help out, if you like any of the things that I made on there, feel free to have some. I made a travel coffee mug. Well, first I had to make a new logo because the logo I had was, even though I did have it made by an artist, a veteran, a buddy, it was just too much to put on a logo. So I made a nice little simple, nice clean, crisp, a vintage style camera, film camera, and microphone, because that's kind of what we do here. We talk about films, and that's simple. It's sweet. There's no, we're all having fun here. I made the logo. I made some merch. I made some knitted crew necks. I made a hoodie. I think there's a hat, and there's some tote bags. So if you guys like buy groceries or just have a tote bag for your backpack or whatever, just have a bag. I just try to make something that everybody, if you don't want to buy a hoodie, you can buy this or a hat or whatever. You know what I mean? This is cool. If you want to help out, buy some merch. If you want to just share, like, talk to me, email me, recommend a movie, whatever you want to do, yeah, we'll do that. It's great. It's fine. Everything is awesome. Everything is great. I hope you're doing well. I hope it's all right. The government, the weather, everything's trying to kill you. So hang in there. Watch movies while you can. Love your family. Watch movies. So that's all we can do. All we can do. How do I look? Let's do. All right. I got my shirt on. Nice shirt. How's the background? Is it cool? What do you think? What do you guys think of the background? Is it all right? Let me make sure this is tight. Make sure this is tight. This is the same mic arm that I've had since I started. So I bought it a long time ago. This is the same. I've been building on it. You know what I mean? So it's the red arm. I have a pop filter here. Oh, this is a foam, and then in the middle I have a microphone. Same microphone, USB mic I've been using the whole time. That's fine. We're doing it. We're making it happen. That's what it is. And you know what it is? Something that I think about a lot. Because, like movies, you might learn a lesson from a movie, but you also learn a lesson from experiences and people you've met, right? So whenever I buy gear, right? So I have a decent camera. I have a light. I have the mic that I started with, the computer and everything. But at the same time, I just sent it. When I started, I just sent it with whatever I had. I had an old laptop, about the mic, whatever it is. And they weren't great, but we got there. We're getting there. And a sentence that my friend said, and he didn't say it. This is what was beautiful. This is what was beautiful about that piece of advice that I keep with me forever. He wasn't saying it as advice. He was just saying it as something. You know what I mean? We're just having a conversation. He invited me to play golf. When I was younger, I was like probably 20. I was probably 20 something. I got invited to play golf, and I loved it. And it's fun, and you get to hang out with your friends. You can play golf. But this friend, I knew he was better. He was really good at golf, and he had invited me. And I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, man. I only have these like thrift store golf clubs. You know what I mean? Like I paid like $1 each for each of them. I don't even have a set. It's just like some random clubs I got. I was like, yeah, I mean, if that's cool with you, I'll just show up my dollar clubs and we'll play. And he says, this is a country dude, super country. His full name is Harry Lee Gass. Everybody used to call him Dad. Like he was like, your old stepdad, right? Always giving you advice. So Harry Lee, I was like, yeah, if I got golf clubs, bro, they're kind of crappy. They're not, they're not great clubs, but I'll play with you. He said, oh hell, this country dude. He said, hell, man, some people spend $100 on clubs, can't play a lick of golf. That's what he said, and I remember it just rolled off his tongue so easy. Can't play a lick of golf. Hundreds of dollars worth of golf clubs, can't play a lick of golf. And that stayed with me, right? Because you're right. Some people think throwing money at something will make it better. And yeah, maybe some things will make things better, right? Usually good quality meats in a recipe or whatever. But at the same time, you can have a great dish, maybe something even that you would enjoy more than the expensive version. You know what I mean? So I think about that a lot. I think that about I don't want to cheap out on things. I still spend the money when I can, or if I feel like it is necessary. But for the most part, to get started, you don't need, everything. You don't need all the best things. And I always say that little sentence to myself. I'm like, man, people spend hundreds of dollars on golf clubs, can't play a lick of golf. And he's right. He's true. I met a lot of people can't play for nothing. They have the newest AI smoke driver, but that's just a little something what brought that on? Why was I talking about that? Yeah, just gear, I guess. We're talking about gear. Talking about, this mic arm. Yeah, I started off with this mic arm. I've been building it out. This is the foam pop filter. And we just send it. I've always been a full send kind of guy. So welcome back. I know it's taking me. I used to try to get every episode up by Monday, but it's just been taking me a little while. I have a little bit of news, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that another day. For today's episode, everybody enjoyed Kung Fu Panda, a story of an unlikely warrior doing Kung Fu. And we're doing the sequel, right? Because another thing, when I started doing the podcast, for whatever reason, I thought I was an artsy. I think I had a film class, or not even a film class. I think I was just doing the podcast. And I think I had something against sequels at the time, to where I had seen too many that were so bad, I didn't even want to acknowledge any more sequels, right? But that's stupid. Why am I giving myself these rules? You know what I mean? So we're doing sequels. If you guys want something else, suggest it. Tell me. Whatever you want to do, we'll do it. So we're doing sequels now. And like I said, I did Kung Fu Panda. Oh, sorry. Like I said, we did Kung Fu Panda. And now we're going to roll 2 and then 3, right? 4 to me, we're not gonna do it. But Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3. So the story of Kung Fu Panda 2. When we last saw our hero, right? He defeated Tai Lung, the best Kung Fu master ever. Total badass. He saved the village. He was acknowledged as a dragon warrior by the other Furious 5 member, the Kung Fu masters. He was acknowledged, and it was a happy ending. That's when we last saw Po the panda. Po the dragon warrior, the panda. That's when we last saw him. So at the beginning of Kung Fu Panda 2, it starts off like with a paper puppet show, which is like very, I guess, a Chinese custom, Chinese tradition maybe. I would like to be part of one. If you guys know of any, I'll show up. I'll watch it. All right. So the puppets are telling us that long ago there was an emperor, and an empress. They're peacocks, right? Everybody's an animal in China. There's a peacock, and they invented gunpowder, and they invented fireworks, and it was a gift to the people. Everybody can see how beautiful this was. This was a gift to them because they invented it. It was a gift to the people, and everybody loved them. They're like, wow, fireworks are amazing. Imagine the first person to see a firework. Oh, let me think. Yeah, for sure they had to be Chinese, I think. Different rabbit hole. So the people loved it, but they had a son, right? Emperor Shen, Prince Shen, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna use the gunpowder, and I'm gonna make a gun, a weapon." And that's what he did. He developed the gun. Pretty much, he developed this big old cannon. And the parents didn't really like that. They didn't really say anything. They didn't really like it, but they sought help from a soothsayer, a fortune teller, right? And she says that he's a bad guy, and that eventually he's going to be defeated by a warrior of black and white, right? And it was kind of like the yin yang symbol that's like black and white. And Shen, when he heard this, he says, "Nah, no, I'm not. I'm going to outsmart my destiny, as most of us try to do." So he sent his army, right? He has an army of wolves because he's the prince. He sends the army of wolves to destroy and kill every single panda. And that's when it clicks. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Po was the out of all the village of animals, Po was the only panda. That's right. We didn't even think about that in the first movie. We had too much to worry about with Tai Lung. But now with this story adding on to it, you're like, oh, you're right. Po was the only panda. And this is why Shen had all the pandas killed. And then that's something that hold on. Shen had all the pandas killed. And then when he came back, right, he came back to tell his parents, like, hey, I'm not going to be defeated by a warrior of black and white, a panda. I killed them all. His parents looked at him in horror. They're like, what? Let me try. No. Let me try. You what? You what? We'll work on it. His parents looked at him in horror, and they're like, no. And they banished him. The banished prince, get out of here. You're banished, right? And he went away. And that's what last we saw of him until now, of course. And now we see a different town, right? So when we saw in the first movie, we saw Po. They were like in the village right by the Jade Palace. But there's different cities, different towns. So we see that there's kung fu masters that are in charge of like different districts or whatever, like precincts or something. They're just like kung fu masters. They kind of make sure everything's all right. And the kung fu masters, they work at what used to be the emperor's palace, because eventually the peacock emperors, they died. So now the palace was like a gift to the city. So they live there. And here comes Shen. Shen comes back to the doors of the palace, and there's some kung fu masters, right? It was like Master Rhino, Master Ox, Master Crocodile or Alligator. I get them confused. And they're doing kung fu, super cool. And Shen knocks on the door, and he's telling them like, hey guys, you got to leave. And they're like, what? And they're like, oh, Emperor Shen, or, banished Prince Shen. They're like, oh, we're not leaving. Your parents gave us this mansion for the city. We're not leaving. And he's like, I'm happy. He's always like, bad guys are always so confident. They're like, I'm happy you said that, because that means I would have brought all this. I would have brought this for nothing. Boom. And he shows them the cannon, right? So nobody's ever seen a cannon or a gun before. So they're like, that's nothing. We'll do kung fu to it. Right? He's like, oh, really? You think so? And then Shen lights the cannon, and you just see a giant fireball. Boom. And it cuts away, right? It's a kid's movie. They're not going to show this dude get cut in half. But yeah, he tried to do kung fu to a cannon. Didn't work. So that's when they send news to the village where Po's at, right? And they send the message. Oh no, so they send news to the village where Po's at. And then we see Po for the first time, and he's up in the palace training. And they're just doing cutaway scenes, and you just hear like pounding, right? Like fist training. You hear everybody counting. They're like 46, 47, 48. And then we see the hall, right? We enter into the palace. And what we thought was training was actually Po, the fat panda, dragon warrior. He's trying to see how many bean buns he could fit into his mouth. And you're like, oh, we thought he turned into this hardened kung fu guy. No, it's still same old Po. There he is eating bean buns. But he's doing bean buns, and they get an alert. The five and Po, they're like, guys, there's bandits. There's bandits in the town. We need somebody to come stop them. So they go to the town, and there's the wolves, Shen's wolves, right? Because he has the army of wolves. That's a pretty sick name, Army of Wolves. Army of one wolf. But they go down there. They're beating up all the bad guys, and the bad guys, you see what they're stealing from the village. They're stealing metal, because Shen sent them to go to all the towns, find all the metal, because we're gonna melt it down to make this gun we're doing. Remember? So all the bandits, wolves, are stealing metal. So the five show up. Dragon Warrior shows up. They start doing kung fu, And it's super cool because they're working together. Like, Snake will sling this one will throw that one. They work together. They're a team, and everything's coming out beautifully. They're working. Panda's fighting good. He's doing good panda kung fu, and everybody has their own style, and it's amazing. They're doing kung fu, and the bad guys, they're trying to get away with all the metal. Most of them are beaten up, but the one that's almost getting away, Poe's after him. Right? He's chasing him. He's beating him up, but he has like his army unit, his army patch on his shoulder. Look at that tricep though. I kind of. Hey, this video's not about that. But the wolf, he has an emblem on his shoulder, right? So when the wolf kind of turns around and he sees the emblem, Poe has like a flashback. Oh, he has a flashback. He remembers seeing that when he was a baby, and he froze for a second, and that second was enough for the wolf to hit him, grab all the stuff, and get away on the hot air balloon or whatever they were doing. So, that guy got away with a lot of the metal, and the 5, they come up, and they're like, Poe, what was that, bro? Like, you froze. What happened? And he's like, oh, no. Poe got up because, he thought he was going to get him, too. He thought he was going to win. He's like, oh, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't know. I got to go. And he leaves, and he goes to talk to his dad, the goose who runs the noodle shop. And he's like, Dad, like, I got something to ask you. There's something I got to know. And then the goose, he's a little nervous. He's like, what do you want? What do you mean? He's like, Dad, come on. Because he's a goose. Right? His dad's a goose. He's a panda. Genetically, is it? Can it? No, that's not his biological father. All right? So the goose is kind of like, yeah, you're my son. I raised you. Love you. But Poe's like, Dad, where'd I come from? Right? The kids get that age, they want to know. So, Dad, where'd I come from? Oh, Poe, you really want to know? And it's hard for his dad because his dad has loved him. He's raised him on his own, a single dad, small business owner. He's raised him. And he's like, oh, all right, Poe. And he pulls out this radish crate. He's like, you came from here. He's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, well, a long time ago, I was getting my supplies, my food got delivered to the restaurant, and I went out back to get all my stuff, and there was a little baby panda. He's so cute. The baby's so cute. And he ate all my radishes. And then he said he waited. He said he looked around, he waited, but nobody came for you. Nobody ever came for you. So that's when I made one of the biggest decisions of my life. I'll make soup without radishes. Comic relief. Good comic relief. That's good comic relief there. He says, I'll make soup without radishes. And I'll raise you and love you like my own son. He raised them. He taught him how to make broth and noodles. He raised them on his own. He loves them, this duck, this goose. And that doesn't answer Poe's questions. Like, okay, you found me, but he wants to know something deeper. Before that, there had to be something. Like, where did I come from? That's his thing. And then eventually he goes up to talk to Master Sifu, right? And Master Sifu, remember the panda from the beginning, the master? He's kind of like the Grand Master now because Master Oogway dissolved into the spirit world. He technically didn't die. He just dissolved into spirit. So Master Sifu, he's the Grand Master now, and he's in a cave, right? And then he's like, yo, Master Sifu, what's up? And he's like, oh, I'm just in here trying to discover inner peace, right? Because he discovered inner peace, right? Because I think something that was bothering him for the long time is that he raised Tai Lung as his own son. He had hatred in his heart, and everything that he taught Tai Lung used against the village and against him, and it was kind of like a big failure for for Master Sifu. So now that Panda defeated Tai Lung, it's gravy, baby. Everything's good with me. I'm at peace. So he's mastered inner peace, and he's like, I've mastered inner peace. And he shows some. He does like this really cool kung fu thing where there's like water dripping from the fang of a dragon, or the tooth of a dragon inside of a cave, and he like does a kung fu, catches the drop, and he like does kung fu. He does kung fu to it in a circle, and he's giving it, doing the forms like this, and he's lowering it, and he lowers the drop of water to a blade of grass, and the grass lowers it to the ground. Almost like a transfer of energy, a transfer of chi or peace, whatever that is. He masked Shifu, mastered inner peace. Because he's peaceful on the inside, he can do that. So when they're doing that, they get word from the town. They're like, guys, right? They open the scroll. They open the scroll, and he's like, what? Right, let me get a paper. They open the scroll. This important information. Right, they open the scroll. What? No. I don't think scrolls have pages, but they open the scroll, and they're like, what? No, Master Rhino has been dead. Mr. Rhino got dead. They offed Mr. Rhino, and they're like, what? Master Rhino from the city? His defense was impregnable. His style was whatever it is. He's like, how is that possible? No. He's like, yeah. So apparently, Emperor Shen came back with a weapon that destroys kung fu. Go to the city and solve the problem. That's what Sifu tells him. And Po's like, how are we gonna defeat something that defeats kung fu? Sifu was like, you'll figure it out when you get there. Go. They go. He's a dragon warrior, right? And then and this he has to go, but we do see the aspect from Po's dad, the goose, and he's like, Po, no, don't go, because he's worried about his son. Even though he's a dragon warrior, he's great, he's tough, he's the chosen one. You're my son. You're my son, Po. I found since you were a boy. Po, don't go. That's too dangerous. He's like, sorry, Dad, I have to go. So we see that the goose really does love him. That's really his dad. And he worries about him. But Po goes. It's his duty as a dragon warrior. So he goes to the city, and it's a long journey. I don't know how the quadrants are divided in the kung fu, how they're dividing it, but it's a long journey. And they have to go through the mountains, through the desert. They're on a riverboat. And when they're on the riverboat, Po can't sleep. He keeps thinking about radishes, right? He keeps thinking about his parents, his panda parents. He's like, whatever happened to my panda parents? He can't think. It's bothering him. And he wakes up in the middle of the night, and he's on the riverboat, and he sees drops, right? And he's trying to do the same thing that Master Sifu did with the drops of water, but he can't. It's kind of like telling us, like, I have that inner turmoil, the war against myself on the inside, that battle, those silent battles. And he's like, oh, I can't, right? But Tigress wakes up, the tough one, the tough chick. She wakes up and she's like, what's wrong, Po? And he's like, oh, it's just that I don't know who my parents were. And, he tells her the whole thing. And they do a little bit of kung fu and they bond. But the thing is that Tigress isn't very, like, soft, caring. She's very strict, very hard, very tough, no emotions, right? She's hardcore. But she's there to support Po because they are friends, they're coworkers, peers, whatever it is, kung fu peers. And she comforts him. She's like, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. And they get to the city, and the city, they have like vendors, like street vendors and stuff like that, and they're being bullied, right, by the army of wolves. So Po, they're trying to get information. They're trying to find out where's the bad guy? What does he look like? What's going on? Does anybody know anything? Whatever. So they have to go in disguise. And of course, they disguise themselves as a giant dragon or lion for like a parade guy. So they're in there, and as they're maneuvering through the city, they're beating up the wolves. And they're trying to talk to the vendors, and the vendor tells them, hey, Master Alligator or Master Ox, the ones that we saw at the beginning, how, like the rhino, he tried to fight the cannon. So the alligator in the prison, alligator and the ox, they're like, yo, they're in the prison. Find them in the prison, and they'll help you do kung fu and save the day. He's like, all right, thanks, guys. So they start finding their way to the prison. So they get to the prison, and they find Master Ox, Master Rhino. They're in there. They're in the cells. And they're like, Dragon Warrior shows up. He's like, yeah, guys, hey, we're here to save you. We're going to do a rescue mission. We're going to save the city. And they bust open the cell. And the Ox and Rhino, they don't come out of it. They're just in there, depressed. They're like, just go, Panda. Just leave it alone, bro. We lost. And they close the cell. They close the cell they're in. They're like, we're not going. And he's like, nah, don't worry. We're here. All of us. We could save the city. We'll do it. This is Kung Fu Panda 2. We're going to do it. And they're like, no, you don't understand. So they're doing like a kung fu against each other to stay in the prison. They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. They're scared. They really are scared of what they saw. Kung fu masters, old guys, wisdom and age and knowledge and that. They're scared. They're scared of what they saw. And then what happens? And then they're like, fine. If you want to stay in the prison, stay here. Right? And they turn around. And then they turn to Poe, right? Poe and everybody, they're getting ready to leave, but Tigers tells Poe. He's like, Poe, you got to stay here too. He's like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, you can't go. You saw the way, because when he fought the wolves, like that, where he would freeze and paralyze because he saw something he remembered, that kept happening. So that was going to affect him in the battle. So he's like, Tigers is like, no, you can't go. I forbid it. He's like, you can't stop me. You can't stop me. Come on, we got to do it, guys. And she like does kung fu to him, turns him around. And he's like, okay, all right. And he tries it again. They don't do it. And he breaks down. He tells them, Tigers, I got to go. Because I need to know what happens. Even if I can't fight this guy, I can't win, I need to at least find out what happened that day. He's like, what are you talking about? My parents, what happened to my parents? Where did I come from? He has to do with it. Shen, the symbol on the wolf, everything. It's something I need to find out. I got to know what happened. And I understand that maybe you don't understand because you're so tough. You're so hardcore. You wouldn't understand. Right? And she does like this motion real quick. She like turns to him real quick. And you think she's going to cut his head off. No, but she hugs him. She hugs him because she understands. She gives him a hug. She's like, okay, all right, we'll go together. We'll all go. But right then, the wolf army comes in. And they're like, yo, we got, like they had Monkey on the lookout. And he was watching what was happening. It was an emotional scene. And he's like, oh, we got to fight. So they start doing kung fu with all the wolves. They beat everybody up except the one, right? The one that Poe saw, who's like the general, right? He's like the wolf in command under Shen, right? The platoon commander. So he's getting away and Poe's following him. They're trying to chase him because they're like, hey, we got to get him. He knows where everything is. We got to find him. We got to follow him. So they start chasing him through the town. And, you know, it's like one of those like funny things where they have to fight through the city using the things around them. And, of course, there's fireworks. There's wagon wheel carts because they're in China. And they were together. They're trying to get through the city, trying to catch up to the guy, but they're doing fights. They're doing fights along the way. And then the wolf has a lead, right? He eventually gets the lead. He gets ahead, and he's almost to freedom. But Poe, he's on a wagon. It's like a silly little thing. It's funny to watch. And then Tigers comes up, does like a double Phoenix open palm punch, hits Poe. He goes flying, catches up to the wolves, and they go flying off, like almost his ramp, right? And they start falling down, and Poe grabs them, and like grabs them and just straight boom, pounds them into the ground, right, when they land. And he's like, yeah. Poe's like, we got you, bro, we got you. But they didn't realize that they landed at the gate of the Emperor's castle or whatever. So now they're surrounded by wolves. All 5 of them, they're surrounded by wolves. So they thought they got the wolf, but the wolves actually got them. So now they were looking for a way into the palace. They were looking for the Emperor. They found him. Look no further. You found him. So they lock him up, right? They put him in the cuffs, and they start going into the palace. But upstairs in the palace, Master Shen's there. And he's talking to the soothsayer, right? She's in there, the fortune teller. And she's like, you know, earlier in the movie, he told her to read the fortune and check again. And she did. She did the fortune, checked the fortune. Same thing. You're going to be defeated by a warrior of black and white. And he's like, no, that's impossible. And then right when that happened, the wolf comes. Like this happened earlier in the movie. So right when he said that's impossible, the wolf general came up. And he's like, sir, we saw a panda. We saw a panda, and he could do kung fu like nothing I've ever seen before, and he was beating everybody up. There's a panda, right? And he's like, what? Bring him to me, right? And then, you know, Poe crashed into the city. They found him. So now Poe's making up his way upstairs, right? They captured him, but upstairs, Lord Shen is waiting for him. And you just hear these giant steps, boom, 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 and it's shaking the jade columns in the palace. It's shaking him. And Shen, he's trying to be tough. He's like, I have the upper hand. Everybody's handcuffed. I have a sword. And he's like, he's practicing his lines. And he's like, so at last we meet. No, no, no. We meet at last. Yes, that's it. And you hear the thumping coming louder. Boom, boom. And the shaking, everything's shaking. And you see a giant shadow coming up the stairs. And he's nervous because he's like, oh, damn, this is the big panda. And he gets it, and he has gorilla henchmen. It's one of the gorilla henchmen, and he has Poe on his back. Because Poe was so fat and tired, he couldn't make it all the way up the steps. So he's like, oh, thanks, guys. Oh, comic relief, right? He's like, oh, thanks, guys. Sorry. I think I threw up a little back there, but thanks for helping me the rest of the way. And Emperor Shen's like, you're the drawer. And he's like, oh, yeah. Hey, what's up, man? Oh, thanks. And he's just so tired. He doesn't acknowledge the gravity of this bad guy or whatever. And he's like, you're the Dragon Warrior. He's like, yeah. Guys, keep your eye out for the weapon, right? And then he sees it. And he's like, oh, there it is. And he's like, he goes up to it, does kung fu, kicks it, breaks it. Turns out that was a display. That was like a paperweight for your desk or something. Because the real one was right there, right there. It was a big old cannon on him. And then Lord Shen does his monologue. He's like, oh. And he can't take him serious. He's trying to be a mean, evil guy, but like, Poe's such a, he's silly little guy. He doesn't know. You can't take anything serious. And Poe tells him, he's like, Shen, we're here to bring you to justice. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, for all the pots and pans and everything you've been stealing throughout the villages. And the soothsayer, she's there. She's like, is that all? He's like, yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you did a lot of other stuff, but yeah, that's kind of, yeah, we're just here to bring you to justice. And he's like, there's nothing else? You don't remember? And he's like, no, I don't remember anything else. That's it. Right? Because they think he's there to avenge him ending all of the pandas. But no, he doesn't remember that. He doesn't know about that. He's just there because they sent him there for kung fu. They sent him there. That's why he's there. But while they were talking, while they were trying to get all the information and figure out what was going on, they had a plan. So even though they looked like they were all captured, Mantis, who's a tiny little bug, he wasn't actually in the cage. They had a decoy, right? One of his action figures came in handy. So the Kung Fu Master Mantis wasn't in the cage. So when they try to light the cannon, because they're like, oh, you dumb panda, we're just gonna blow you up right now. They light the cannon, wouldn't light, right? Something kept putting out the fire. And then they look, and it was Mantis. And then while they were talking, while the dude was telling the story or whatever, he was asking the panda whatever, they were working together to unlock the locks. Now they're free, now they're fighting, and they're trying to do everything, right? So Poe, get the peacock. We're gonna get the beat up everybody else, and then somebody's gonna destroy the gun, right? So they split up, they do their roles, and then as Poe is grabbing the peacock, right? He's about to grab Shen, the peacock. Yeah, he opens up his feathers. He has the same symbol on his feathers. Poe sees it. He freezes. He remembers. He remembers his mom crying, running through the woods. And there was fire. There was wolves behind him. He remembers Lord Shen. He was there. He was telling the wolves to do something. He remembers. So he froze. And as he froze, that was enough time for Shen to jump out the window and glide to an adjacent building, right? So while the peacock got away, they destroy the gun. The gun pointed down, and it's falling through the palace. So now they have to get away, but the entire palace is surrounded by archers. And they're like, oh, let's go to the door. Let's go to the other side. And then the building that the peacock flew to, turns out this wasn't the only cannon. He has 20 cannons lined up pointing at the palace. So they're like, oh, which way do we go? And the thing is falling down like this. And they're like, we have to run up. And it's like a cool scene because they have to do kung fu, work together, run up to the palace. And then at the very end, they have to jump off. They're like, oh, and there's arrows flying to them, arrows flying near them and everything like that. So they jump off the building and they land, right? And they have to find a place for cover. And they end up back at the prison, right? And at the prison, they're having a back and forth. They don't know what to do. That's actually when Panda was like, I have to be there, whatever. They're trying to figure out what to do. So the 5, they go their way. Panda goes a different way. And they're like, we have to destroy the place where he's making the cannons. And then that'll stop him. And then Poe, since they told him to stay put, he goes a separate way. He's like, I'm going to go where they're doing the cannons. And I'm going to defeat the peacock, right? While this was happening, the Peacock is at the workshop, right? The machine shop where they build the guns. He's there, and he's like, load the cannons. Prepare the ships. We're leaving tonight. Or we prepare to leave. Load the cannons or get the ships ready. We'll leave at dawn. Or whatever it is, whatever the order is. So it shows the 5. They pull up to the warehouse, and they're like, all right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I know. We'll set some explosives. We'll throw it into the warehouse, destroy everything, and we'll get out of there. And at the same time, we see Poe sneaking in through the window, and he's trying to find Shen. He's like, where is he? He has the answers. He knows what happened to my parents. Let me find him. So he finally finds him. He's at the top. He's giving orders, telling everybody to load the ships. But at the same time, the 5, they just got a bunch of dynamite or TNT. They threw it into the warehouse. And they're like, oh, bro, what's Poe doing here? What's he doing here? We told him to stay put. So now they have to take all the dynamite out. They've blown their cover. All the wolves are attacking everybody. So Poe, he's fighting Shen upstairs. The 5, they're fighting all the warriors downstairs, all the army soldiers or whatever it is. They're fighting all the wolf army, and they're doing kung fu. They're fighting. They're winning. And then Poe, right? Poe's upstairs, and he's doing kung fu. And he was like, I know you were there. Tell me what happened. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you were there that night. He's like, oh yeah, that night, right? He's using the emotional distress to his advantage, right? So he could get away, because when Poe was asking him, he was like trying to secretly light the cannon. So while he was talking to him, the cannon went off, and then Poe, who was like fighting with like metal scraps were around him, he was able to, put a wok, one of those round pans, put a wok in front of him, but he took a cannonball and it took him flying. You just see it looked like a shooting star. He just got shot off into the distance. And the Furious 5, they're like, Poe, no. No, Poe. Right? Poe's gone. And so the Peacock's like, yeah, I killed him. Everybody's like, no, Poe. And they got all the 5, they got captured by the wolves. They got chained up. And in the distance, back in the village, Master Shifu, who was meditating in the cave, lightning strikes. Boom. Oh, what happened? Right? He felt it. He felt the aura. He felt the chi, the presence, something's wrong. He's like, oh, what happened? What happened? And then we see Poe, right? Poe's, he might not make it. He's floating down the river. And he gets to like a little embankment, right? So he stops. And someone's there. Someone's there to pull him out of the water. And it's the soothsayer, the fortune teller. And she takes care of him. She patches him up. Maybe because it's the nice thing to do. Maybe it's because she knew how to do that. Maybe she knew in the fortune, she knew that it was up to her to help him so he can fulfill his destiny to defeat the Peacock. And he's like, what are you doing? Where am I? Right? Poe wakes up and she's like, you don't know where you are? He's like, no, I don't know where I'm at. He's like, look around. Right? And she gives him some medicine. But more importantly, she gives him the answers that he was looking for, the story. He's like, look around. This whole area used to be a beautiful place full of pandas. And then Poe looks around and it looks kind of familiar to him. It looks familiar. He's seen these buildings before. He has memories of his parents, his dad working the land, his mom taking care of him as a baby panda. He remembers. And he's like, yeah, I remember. And then she keeps telling him. So as she's telling him, we can see the animation, the memories in his head. It was a beautiful land, a beautiful family, a beautiful community. And then one day, a young prince and his army of wolves come in. And they were ordered to kill everyone. Kill all the pandas. And right when they were about to get his mom, the dad came in. Dad came in, hit him with the shovel. He's like, run. Dad fought him off. Dad was fighting the wolves. So she's running through the woods. She sees a restaurant, and she puts the baby panda in the crate of radishes. And she's like, shh, baby. Right? She's telling him to calm down because the baby's crying. But at the same time, it's her goodbye. And like, shh. She gives him a radish so he could calm down. He's crying. Baby panda's crying. And she's like, she looks at him, right? One last look. And she turns around and she's like making noise so the wolves follow her. And you can see the wolves following her that way. You see Lord Shen telling the wolves where to go. And Panda, he remembers that the goose raised him. He remembers that this happened and this. And then There's a moment of clarity, right? And in the rain, the drops are falling on him the same way they were falling on Master Shifu in the cave. And he accepted his past. He accepted his past. He found the answers he was looking for. He accepted his past. He accepted his destiny. And he was okay. And as the raindrops fall, he catches one. Just like Master Shifu. He catches it. He's rolling it around doing kung fu. And then in his movements, he learned that everything that happened to him led to everything that happened to him. And everything that is happening to him is going to lead to something else that's happening to him. And that's okay. That's his life. That's life. And because he accepted it, he mastered his inner peace. Right? He's taking the raindrop and he lowers it to the leaf on the ground. And the leaf lowers it to the ground. Peace. Inner peace. All these horrible things that happened to him, he accepted them. He accepted that he has no control over the greater destiny. Maybe he only has control over his reactions to him. And because of that, he mastered his inner peace. And he knows what he has to do. He has to go back and stop Shen. He has to save his friends. He has to save all of China. All of Kung Fu in China. They made a weapon that destroys Kung Fu. And he has to fight for that. So he looks at the soothsayer, the fortune teller. He says, I know what I have to do. I'm going to need a hat. Right? Because in his vision, in his idea of him being a great Kung Fu warrior, he always has one of those China caps. Is that racist to say, a China cap? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna edit that out. He always has one of those Asian market hats. What are those sombreros? One of the Chinese sombreros, mate. He has one of those Chinese sombreros. So he knows what he has to do. He found his answers. He accepted his destiny, his past, his story. He has to go back. And he goes back and he finds out where they at. He goes to the city. He's on top of the building, right where the canal enters the ocean, right where the river that cuts through the city. They got to go through here, and here they come, right? It's Shen. He has a dozen ships. Each of them have a few guns on them. And his friends, they're tied up. They're chained up. Oh, they're chained up. And he knows what to do. And he says, Shen, I know I'm here to defeat you. I'm here to stop you. I'm here to save my friends. And they see him. And they're like, oh, who's that? Oh, someone's up there. He's saying something. And you can kind of hear like, and they're like, what? And they're like getting a little closer. He's a little louder. Right? And then we see him. Comic relief, bro. The comic relief in this movie is great. He sees him and he's like, he takes off his Chinese sombrero and he throws it. He aims at the chains holding his friends, and the sombrero just falls to the ground. The comic relief is impeccable. Right? The comical timing, impeccable. So he's like, I'm here to defeat you, Shen. And he jumps down the buildings, and Shen is like, fire, fire. Right? So Po lands on the building. He lands Po lands on the ship, and he's doing kung fu to a couple of them, and they start aiming the cannons at him. And he's like jumping around, being a silly guy, and he's unpredictable. That's really his power. That's his style, is that, oh, he's going this way. Oh, he fell. Oh, he's getting back up. Oh, he can jump really high. You can't lock onto him. You don't know where he's going to go. In that, when they're trying to point where he's going, they ended up pointing the guns at each other. So they're like, no, you idiots, don't point the guns at each other. Because they're new to guns. Nobody had gun safety rules yet. So they're new to this. They're doing all this. They're doing kung fu. And then as Kung Fu Panda is doing the kung fu, it looks like he's outnumbered. He hasn't been able to release his friends yet. There's somebody else doing kung fu. They're like, somebody's here. And then we see Master Ox from the prison. And Master Croc comes out of the water. Boom. And he's like, guys, y'all came to help me. He's like, yeah, your buddy's pretty persuasive. And then we see somebody rip through 35 wolves. Boom. Master Shifu got him. And they freed the 5. And now everybody's ready to do kung fu. So they're doing kung fu on the ships. Beautiful kung fu. They're attacking together. They're working as a team, and they all jump. They all jump at the same time, and there's a light behind them. And then remember, Po's a fan. Po's a fan of kung fu. He looks at the 5. He looks at Master Shifu and the Rhino. Can't believe it. He's like, I love you guys. Bro, they're doing kung fu. They're blocking. The ships crash, so they created a barricade. So now the ships can't leave. And Emperor Shen used the cannon, clear the path. And then the wolf, who's the platoon commander, he's like, the one that's the platoon commander, he's like, but sir, our men. And Shen's like, just do it. And the wolf stands up to him finally. He's like, no. Right? He's asking him to kill his own men for him, for his mission or whatever. And he's like, no. Boom. And Shen, Shen knocks him out. And Shen fires, right? He lights a cannon. And even though everybody was working together, it looked great, they're not a match. All these masters, they're not a match for the killer of Kung Fu. Boom. Shen blasts the boats. Wolves and Kung Fu masters go flying into the water everywhere. And after the smoke clears, there's boat fragments. Everybody landed in different spots. People are floating on debris in the water. And the only boat left is the one Shen is on, with the one with the big gun. And it's pointed directly at Po. And Po swam over to check on Tigress, and everybody's hurt. And not only are they hurt, they know that if they weren't able to beat him working together in that situation now where they were bottlenecking the bridge so where nobody could get out, they've lost. They've lost the fight. They lost the war against the thing that defeats Kung Fu. So they've been defeated, right? And they look at each other, and this is it. And Po looks at them. He looks at the ship, and he's like, I know what I have to do. And he pushes Tigress, right? They're floating in the water. He pushes her to safety, and Po swims out directly in front of the ship. And he's standing there. He stands on some debris that fell right there. And it's time, baby. It's showtime. This is what destinies are made of. And Shen, he sees the panda that was destined to stop him. And Po sees the gun, right? The gun that kills Kung Fu. And Shen lights the cannon, right? He lights the cannon, and everybody's like, no, Po, what are you doing? And Po closes his eyes. He closes his eyes, and he thinks about how peaceful he is, right? At inner peace. He's at peace with himself. He closes his eyes, and he's ready for whatever comes, right? And the cannonball fires, right? And they fired in slow motion, and it's beautiful, right? It explodes. There's like fire burning around it, like firework fire burning around it, and it's spinning at high speeds, going at a velocity of whatever. And Po's at peace, and he catches it. He spins it, boom, deflects it. And everybody's like, everybody, jaws drop. Master Shifu, Shen, who's been able to kill anybody he's wanted to because he invented the gun. For the first time, somebody wasn't killed by it. He didn't stop it, but he stopped it. He deflected it. And he's like, fire again, everybody fire. Right? So all the cannons that are left, I guess there was more than one cannon. All the cannons that are left, they start firing at him. And he did the first one, and he's doing all of them. Boom. Boom. He's catching all of them, deflecting them. He's doing funny little things, doing little things. He's still a silly guy, right? Serious situation, silly guy. Boom. He's doing the fling, doing the thing. And then one of them, he misdirected it right to another ship. He's like, oh, I got it. Boom. He starts deflecting them, all of them. And the only one left is Shen, right? So they're firing. Shen is panicking. No one's ever been able to stand up to the gun before. Shen's panicking. He's like, fire everything. And they fire the last one, right? And he catches it. He turns around. He gets ready. He goes like this. Skadoosh. Returns it, right? And he goes right back onto the ship and explodes everybody that's left. The grand finale. Everybody's blown up. And Po shows up. Po shows up to the boat. And the only one left is Shen. And he's like, how, Panda? Right? Shen is right there. He's like, how, Panda? How did you? I took everything from you. I took away your family. I took away everything from you. How could you keep going? And he's like, that's the thing. That's the thing about scars, Shen. They heal. He's like, no, they don't. Wounds heal. And, oh, yeah. What do scars do? They fade? the comedic timing is impeccable. He's like, yeah, what do scars do? Fade? He's like, I don't care what scars do. And he pulls out his knives, and it's a fist fight. It's a good old-fashioned kung fu fist fight. And he starts fighting Po. And Po's like, Shen, you don't have to do this. Stop. And he's like throwing knives, and Po's blocking him using woods. And Shen is cutting the ropes around him, right? And these ropes just happened to be the ropes that kept the cannon strapped to the boat. But because the boat exploded, it's flipped over. Now it's upside down and it's the ropes holding it up. So as he's fighting Poe, all the ropes snap. And the giant cannon, the heavy metal cannon, starts falling on top of Shen. And Shen looks up at it. And in the end, he just accepts his fate. And it crushes him, explodes all the remaining gunpowder. Everybody jumps into the water. And it's over. The killer of Kung Fu is gone. And they pull Poe out of the water. And they're like, you did it, Poe. You did it. You're the Dragon Warrior. And then Master Shifu's like, Poe, you've mastered inner peace. At such a young age. Impeccable timing. And he did it again. Kung Fu Panda Poe. He did it again. He did another movie. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. The world building in this, the world building in these movies, amazing. This movie's like from 2000, I don't know, 11 maybe, and the graphics are great. He did it again, Poe. He made it back. He made it back to the village, and he goes and he sees his goose dad, and he's like, Dad, I'm back. And while I was gone, I found my answers. I found out who I am. And he's like, who are you, son? He's like, I'm your son, Dad. Because even though all this happened, this also happened. The goose raised him as his own. He taught him everything he knows, and he was his dad. So even though now he has closure, he has the answers, still my dad. Still my dad, man. And they cook together, and the camera pans out. It pans out of the village, but it doesn't end there. It kind of transitions over miles away, high up in the mountains, and there's somebody with a robe, kind of like in a meditation. And he turns around, and he's a full-grown male panda. And he says, my son's alive. Right? The universe somehow sent out the message, this panda's alive. And the dad survived. And then the dad who said that, the panda who said that my son's alive, he looks over, and there's an entire village of pandas hidden in the mountains. And he says, my son's alive. And that was Kung Fu Panda 2. He did it again. Kung Fu Panda 2, Poe, Adventure Kung Fu, Noodles. What a beautiful story. I hope I did it justice. I hope it was enough for you to go and check it out. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the movie. I hope you guys stay safe. I hope you tune in next time. Like, share, subscribe. Email, Cine-Ops@gmail.com. Cine-Ops on YouTube. Everything is linked. Everything is linked in this episode. So if you're listening to this, one more step, check out the links. I got merch. I got hoodies. I got merch. I got videos. Whatever you want to do. I'm Alvi. I'll see you next time.